Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And we're just going to get right down to it. It's Listener Story Day, Listener Story number 32. Stories from all of you. If you have a story you'd like to send to us, you can email it to us at ghostiespod@gmail.com. Also written down in the description. Tea today is Bigelow Constant Comment.
Yes, it is. So let's go.
Tea is great. That's a really good one. I keep forgetting about that one. That one has been in the back of my pantry.
Mhm.
I've got a massive stash of tea.
Yeah.
And it's been in the back, and I had to dig for it, and I was like,
It's a good one.
this is
It's
good.
solid.
I need to start drinking this more. But our first story is from Haley. My name is Haley. It's a common name, so I don't mind if you use it. I've always been very connected to spiritual things, and I've had many experiences throughout my life. The story I'm wanting to tell y'all, though, is about a time when I was 10 or 11. We had moved into a townhouse apartment, and I had to stay home sick from school. Having just moved in, boxes were still packed up, and my mattress was up against the stairs. The area under the stairs was a plain wall. No doors, no shelves, just a wall. However, when I laid in my bed trying to sleep, in my blurry vision, I see a hand reach out above my face and push my head into my pillow. It was big enough to cover my nose and mouth, making it hard to breathe. Once I got out from under it, I stood up, panicked, only to find nothing there and no one in the house. The windows were shut, doors all locked. I was alone. I saw in a mirror moments later that there was still a handprint on my face. I immediately grabbed my tissues, apple juice, and blanket and sat out on the porch for 5 hours, refusing to go back inside until my mom or any of my sisters got home. It's not the only scary experience I've had, but it's one I've never forgotten, even to this day 20 years later. I love y'all's channel and hope the best. I'll send more experiences another time.
Thank you. What? A whole hand?
Yeah. Like,
And
you
not
can
being able
kind
to
of
breathe.
like, oh, I'm sick, so like maybe it's like I'm dreaming, I'm not being able to breathe because I've got an upper respiratory infection or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But to see it afterwards is what you can't. How do you
You can't explain it.
Yeah.
There's physical evidence.
I'm having a really hard time with words today.
Okay.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah, that's scary.
That's horrifying, actually.
Our next story comes from Paola. Hey, Natalie and Macy, my name is Paola. I found your YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago, and I've been binge watching all the episodes. While listening to all the stories, I felt encouraged to share some of mine. The first story I want to share with you girls is about a mimic. So at the time, I was maybe 16 or 17 years old because I was still in high school. I lived with my sister, my niece, and my mom. Some details before the story. My niece and I had chores to do during the weekend when we weren't in school. We would pick and choose what we would like to do, and it always ended in me sweeping and my niece mopping. Now, on to the good part. This story happened on a Saturday morning. I had just finished my chores and it was my niece's turn to mop. She would always start mopping from the rooms and ending in the living room and kitchen. She went into my room to ask me if I wanted to go to the living room before she started mopping because we were going to have lunch afterwards. And she said that I was sitting on our bed looking outside the window, but I didn't answer her. She thought I didn't hear her, so she asked again, Tia, do you want to go to the living room before I start mopping? And then I answered from the living room.
Oh my God.
Saying, I'm over here already. She looked back to the room where the figure that looked like me was sitting and ran out to the living room. Panicking, she was saying that there was a person looking out the window that looked just like me. And when I went with her to go see, there was no one there.
I thought you were going to say that whenever she called the name or whenever she answered and they looked back, it was gone, but it was still there.
So she just like took off running. That makes it scarier.
It's so much scarier. I just always wonder what would happen if you went up to it.
I have a theory, actually.
Okay.
And I wrote it down somewhere, I think later in this. What if we don't know what happens because the mimics take over their life? Like kind of like Jordan Peele Us style. They lure you so that they can take over your life. And that we're just like with mimics about.
The amount of times we've mentioned a Jordan Peele movie.
I know. This one a few times. He gets us.
Yes. I hate that.
I literally was thinking about this yesterday and went and wrote this down in this episode, actually.
So if you ever like ran into someone you know and they were being weird, what if it's just their other? They're tethered. I mean, anything's
Hopefully
possible.
not.
It could be possible.
But that's a scary theory.
Horrifying thought. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank Jordan Peele because I was influenced.
I need to watch that movie again.
Inspired,
It always freaks me out so bad.
It's a really scary one. Now, a couple of things happened in this home, including when my grandma moved in. She would sleep in the room with me and my niece since we had 2 beds in there. My grandma would wake up a couple of times a night since she was older and she would get hungry or she wouldn't be able to sleep. She said that a couple of times she had seen a silhouette of a woman watching me sleep. She said that one time the silhouette looked like my mom, and she called out to her asking what she was doing or if she was looking for something, and there was no response. She said that after a while of watching me sleep, the woman went into the closet and never came back out. I have a lot more short stories like this that will make Natalie hate me, but for now, I will leave it at these.
Well, I don't hate you. Yet. But those were scary.
Those were
the closet.
Frightening.
That's like the second one that we've recorded very recently.
Maybe
where
the
it
third, actually.
went into the closet and just disappeared.
Why is it? What's in the closet? Our closet's also portal.
What's in the box? I don't know. I don't know. I was just talking with Ryan the other day. I was saying, whenever, if ever, we are able to buy a house, we need at least 3 or 4 bedrooms because I want a whole bedroom to be a closet.
Just to be your space.
I don't want a closet. I want to put racks in a room, put up mirrors. Like, I want a dressing room. I don't want a closet. Closets, 1, freak me out. And 2, if they're small enough, it always just feels like, ugh. Yeah. Like, I feel like my clothes don't stay smelling good, if that makes sense.
I think that's more in your head, but maybe so.
If they're just sitting in the dark, I don't know.
Okay.
I need them to breathe.
I will hope for the best for you. I
Thanks.
hope you get your dressing room.
Thanks.
Something I was thinking of. What if this spirit is an ancestor of Paola and her niece and her grandma or whatever, and that's why it looks like her?
Oh.
And it's watching over her.
That's much less scary.
That's what I was thinking when I first read it.
I want to believe that.
I hope that it's just an ancestor, like a ghost that's just
a cousin
stuck around. Yeah.
Or a great aunt.
I'm reading A Discovery of Witches right now, and she lives in a house that's full of ghosts of all of her ancestors. And they all just like come about and like hang out and stuff.
Mulan type.
Yeah.
Love it.
So maybe so.
I like that thought a lot more than what you originally said.
I'm sorry. Our next story comes from Taylor. Hello, Natalie and Macy. I stumbled across your YouTube channel a little while ago, and you two have now become a part of my daily morning routine of getting ready for the day. I'd just like to say, she said Natalie and Macy, and that feels so weird.
It does.
Because growing up, it was always Macy, Kayla, Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
And so here, Natalie, Macy.
I don't come first in the name order. Never have.
Sorry.
But
hurts you.
Thanks. No, it doesn't hurt me. It just sounds off because my brain is used to hearing it that way.
The other way around, yeah. Mm-hmm. I love listening to your stories and reactions since you are very genuine and don't turn on the theatrics for viewers and listeners. Thank you. We're genuinely scared. After listening to about the 10th video, I decided it was time to share some of my experiences living in rural Pennsylvania in the Appalachian Mountains.
Nice.
Please feel free to use any of my experiences in a future episode if you'd like. I apologize in advance as this will be a little long. It's long, but it's worth it.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm already locked in.
I grew up in an extremely small town in northern Pennsylvania. Besides the main street, there are only 5 other side streets in my town. It's so small that there's no traffic lights, no lodging for guests, and our town doesn't have its own police force. State police officers patrol the town occasionally. The house I grew up in was built in 1860 and seemed to attract entities, specifically mimics. I grew up with the saying, I've heard you ladies say, if you hear something, no you didn't. If you see something, no you didn't. There were countless times where us 3 kids would hear someone calling our name or saying something that our parents would say, and then the person we heard would be nowhere near the voice. For instance, I remember standing in the kitchen getting a glass of water, and I very clearly heard my mom call my name from the basement.
Of course it was the basement.
I opened the door that led to the basement stairs, which is in the kitchen, and it was pitch black. There were no lights on and no sounds. I waited a second, and before I could say anything, I heard my mother's voice at the bottom of the stairs say, I need you to get the laundry. I immediately slammed the door and ran to the dining room. Sitting in her seat in the living room that's adjacent to the dining room was my mother watching TV. She saw tears streaming down my face. My bodily reaction to fear is to tear up.
Me too.
I told her what I heard and that I knew something bad was going to happen, so I slammed the door on it, the voice. The reason this freaked me out so bad is because the washer and dryer were in the basement. Something in complete darkness, sounding like my mom, was trying to get me to walk right to it. Where the voice came from was where I would have needed to walk past to get to the washer and dryer. My mom got a real stern look and stared me in the eyes. After a moment of just looking at each other, she calmly walked over to where my dad stashes his pistol. She grabbed the gun and loaded it, and then grabbed my hand. She walked us to the basement door, switched the safety off so the pistol was ready to fire, and threw open the door. She turned on the lights and told me to keep hold of her shirt and to not let go. I was full-blown crying at this point because I thought my mom was sacrificing me or something crazy. To my surprise, as she leads me downstairs, she starts screaming at this entity. She starts saying, "You see this?" gesturing with the gun. I will kill you if you ever try to lay a hand on my daughter again. You are not allowed to have any of the children in this house. If you ever try to lure another child into this basement, so help me God, I will burn this house down and burn you with it. She checked the entire basement, but no one was there.
Yes.
Snaps for mom.
This is the reaction. She gets me. She understands me.
Yes.
I am her, and she is me.
How many times after we've read a story like this have you said, I need to buy a gun?
And you know what? I've never shot a gun in my entire life. I'm pretty afraid of guns, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that. The correct reaction. Finally, someone... Thank you.
What a woman.
That's what you do. You wave the Glock. You say, come on. Do it. That's how I feel.
Sorry. I did love that reaction, though. I love that. She was just like, no, it's not going to mess with me and my family. Not my children. Because I will burn the house down and burn you with it.
How many times have I said burn the house down?
You have. Insurance fraud.
Wow. What a good story. We should have ended on that one. That's my favorite one.
I know. I'm sorry. But that was good. That was a good end. Scary, though. So scary.
Horrifying.
Okay, so like we've heard, I'm so sorry, I cannot get it together. We've heard stories of it, like you hearing mom in the distance. How often have we heard it continue talking? Like you sent me a video, it was like, Sarah, open the door. You know what I mean?
Yes.
How often have we actually heard it keep talking?
I don't know. A handful of times, not all the time.
From that day forward, none of us kids heard voices calling us to the basement. Instead, the voices would try to lure us down to the first floor when we were sleeping in our rooms on the second floor, and we'd hear voices outside the doors or windows calling us. Every night, my father made sure to lock all the doors and windows, and the three of us kids would watch him do it. If we didn't watch him do it, we couldn't sleep at night. When we would go to bed, we would lock our bedroom doors, and each bedroom had a designated pet that stayed there all night. My two brothers had our female golden retriever named Cleo. That's my dog's name.
Aww.
My parents had our male golden retriever named Caesar, and I had my black cat named Salem. No, he was not named after Sabrina the Teenage Witch's cat. My family has always had pets, and once I was an adult, my parents told me they made sure we were always had our pets so they could protect us from whatever walks in Appalachia. They didn't believe that our pets would physically protect us from entities, but they'd protect us in the sense that they would warn us when something was near. There were numerous times when I would wake up early in the morning because I could feel that Salem got up and he would be staring at the bedroom door, not making a sound, but with his fur standing on end. I would then hear my door handle jiggle, and then my mother or father's voice trying to get me to open the door because they're scared or they need a hug.
Oh my God.
I never opened the door until the sun came up, and it honestly scares me thinking about what would have happened if I did. Just typing this and reliving it is causing my neck and chest to get red and blotchy. She did send a picture, and like her chest was like breaking out in like a rash.
It's okay. Oh my God.
The physical reaction of fear.
Fear.
Just recalling it. Having them outside your door.
I'm scared and I've never experienced that.
We're not in Appalachia, so we don't have to worry about something that crazy.
That is so scary. That is really sick.
That's sick.
Sometimes I'm listening to you read these and my brain forgets that these are listener stories and you're not just picking something off the internet.
Yeah.
Because off the internet, there's a 50-50 chance I'll believe it. When it's coming from listeners, I hate to say it, I believe them all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I believe you.
Me too.
100%. This happened. So now I'm scared.
So open the door. I need a hug.
I get scared. Not just like of that. Whenever it like gets violent, it's like, open the door. And they're like jiggling the handle.
Yeah.
I'm spooked.
I hate that the entire family was like, lock your doors, take your pets, don't come out until sunrise.
I would take all three pets, both brothers, and we're all in the one bed.
Okay.
I've said it. All you need is one mattress on the floor. No chairs.
You know, that's actually not good for your mattress. It needs airflow.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
if it doesn't have like air under it, it can like grow mold and stuff apparently.
did not know that.
So says social media.
You know, I don't believe everything I see on social media most of the time.
I've just seen
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. Well, put your mattress on the floor.
I've done it.
Not long enough to grow mold, apparently. I don't know.
I liked it. Being low to the ground, I don't know. But I'm also a strange person when it comes to sleep.
You know, you don't have to like worry about what might be underneath,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
I have my bed up against my wall, like on two sides, like the headboard's up against the wall, and then I have it up just because, you know, I've always liked that. You interior designers out there, don't come for me.
Having it up against the side of the wall?
Yeah. I've always liked the wall to be able to like roll into. Anyway, that's just my personal preference.
I agree.
But there is that like a hole in between because from my bed frame to my mattress and stuff, it just, there's a little hole. And I always stuff a sheet and a pillow down there.
Yep, that's the way.
This is the way. In 2017, we moved a couple streets over to a bigger and just as old house. The previous owners, who were friends with my parents, warned them that the house was haunted, but with nothing malevolent. They said it was some ghosts that just wanted to be heard or play pranks. I've only had 2 experiences in the house, both of which I didn't feel like I was in danger, just that someone was messing with me. The first instance, I was sitting downstairs by myself watching TV at night. There is a stairwell that runs parallel to the living room, but you couldn't see it as it was on the other side of the wall. There was a doorway between the living room and stairwell, but we hung up a blanket to prevent people from using that entrance. I was watching TV and heard what sounded like my younger brother walking down the stairs. This is very important because my brother is a 6-foot tall, 230-pound man. So when he walks down the stairs, it's a very distinct, loud sound. Well, I heard him come down the stairs and saw the blanket shift, as though there was a breeze from someone walking past. I said, "Hey bro," and waited. No response. I paused the TV, walked out to the dining room and said, "Bro, what are you doing?" But no one was there. Now, if someone actually walked down the stairs, there would only be 3 places for them to go: the kitchen, the laundry room, or the dining room. I checked all 3 rooms and no one was downstairs with me. It gave me chills, but I brushed it off as an overreaction to maybe the stairs creaking, until I remembered I saw the blanket shift. I promptly shut off the TV and went to bed, wanting nothing to do with what just happened. Then, a couple of weeks later, another instance of a ghost trying to prank/spook me occurred. It was late at night and I was downstairs getting some kind of late night snack in the kitchen. I didn't turn on any lights since we had a small light above the stove that we always kept on. As I stood there making my snack, I think it was a bowl of ice cream, I not only heard but felt the vibration of someone very quickly and loudly stomping from the living room to the kitchen doorway behind me.
Oh.
Yeah.
That gave me chills, sorry.
I jumped and flung my hands next to my head while slightly ducking because I was expecting it to be one of my brothers messing with me. Then nothing. I looked over my shoulder and no one was there. My heart was pounding in my ears and my eyes were watering as I stared where someone should have stood. At this point, I threw the bowl in the sink, covered my ears, and ran upstairs to my room. I learned after this experience that if you walk around at night with headphones on, you can't hear the ghosts trying to prank you. They/it has never actually shown itself and seems like it's most comfortable with making itself known through sound. We've never been touched or had objects move. Whatever is present is either too weak to do anything other than make sounds, or it can do the other stuff, but chooses not to scare us beyond belief. It's never felt like something is trying to intimidate me or anything like that. Sometimes it feels like someone wants their presence to be known. And if they have to slightly scare you in the process, then oh well. We've actually minimized experiences by making sure the last person to go to bed shuts off the lights and loudly and pointedly says, "Good night," and the first person in the morning says, "Good morning." I believe whatever is there just wants to be acknowledged as another member of the household.
That's not horrible.
No, if your house is haunted by just like a little prankster, that's fine.
And just tell me hi. Just acknowledge that I'm here. That's okay. I can do that. No. Me personally, no, I can't. I won't. But if I had to choose,
that's what I'd choose.
This one's not bad.
I agree. Some more terrifying experiences I've had are in the same town, but a quick 5-minute drive to my uncle's house. His house was even more secluded in a wooded area than my childhood home. There was maybe 10 feet of open space between the back of the house and the forest, and a huge field with a couple of trees at its center in front of the house across the road. My uncle's house honestly creeped me out more than my childhood home. It was one of those houses that when you paid attention to window placement, you realized that there is nowhere to hide in the house. Unless you crawl into one of the 2 closets in the house, you could be seen no matter where you were through the windows.
Don't like that.
At nighttime, your hair always stood on end because you could constantly feel eyes on you from outside. Back in January of 2012, my aunt passed away from a long battle with cancer. She left behind a 5-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. I'm so sorry for you and your family. My uncle was a nursing student when my aunt passed, so he didn't have a lot of free time to watch my cousins. I was 15 at the time, and because I went to the same school district as my cousins, I would ride the bus to their house every day and babysit. I took care of them, feeding them, helping with homework, and when I was 16 and got my license, I drove them to practices, and I spent nearly 3 years living with them until I graduated high school. Needless to say, I spent a lot of time in their house, and when my aunt first passed, my 5-year-old little cousin couldn't sleep at night unless I was watching her. I spent countless nights staying up all night long, and once she and her older brother woke up, I'd nap for an hour or 2 while the brother watched the little sister. I would stay up because somehow I couldn't fool my cousin. Every time I started to doze or fell asleep at night, she would wake up crying, saying I needed to stay awake.
Oh my gosh.
She never told me why, just that she was afraid of me not watching over her. It was one of those sleepless nights around 2 a.m. and I'm sitting in the living room in the recliner watching TV with their little chihuahua. The only light on in the house is from the TV, and both my cousins are upstairs asleep. It's nice and quiet when the dog picks up its head, looks behind it to my right at the doorway and starts growling. I froze and tried looking out the corner of my eyes to see if I could see anything. It was too dark to make out anything beyond the doorway. So I turned my head towards where the dog was growling. I petted her a couple of times and asked her, "What? Do you see something? What is it?" After asking this, she jumps off my lap, stops about a foot in front of the pitch black doorway and starts barking. At this point, her hackles are raised and my eyes are starting to tear up as I soundlessly stare into the emptiness. All of a sudden, the printer in the next room turns on and starts printing numerous pages. This is very strange because the printer is an older model and does not have wireless capabilities.
Did it say words on the paper?
You have to plug in your computer to the printer to get it to print, and yet nothing was there. The cord to plug into your computer lay over top of the printer as page after page was spit out. Some pages were blank, and others had weird, garbled, and misplaced letters. It looks similar to when a printer page is misaligned, and it prints in weird places and words overlap. I immediately said, "Nope," grabbed the dog, and ran upstairs to my cousin's room. This isn't the only experience, and it gets much more terrifying.
Again, the correct response. Grab it and go.
Just get out.
Yep.
So to better explain why this next thing is so creepy, I will describe the layout of the upstairs floor. You walk up the stairs located in the living room, and at the top of the landing, to your left is my uncle's bedroom, and to the right is the girl's bedroom. You walk through her bedroom to get to the boy's bedroom. I normally slept on the floor in the boy's room because then I could lay on the floor, watch YouTube on his TV, and also have a perfect view of the girl sleeping in her bed. There were times late at night and early in the morning where I would be watching TV and all of a sudden I would instinctively know something was standing at the top of the stairs. The landing at the top of the stairs could just barely be visible from the boy's bedroom, but you would have to lean a little to the left to see it. I would be slammed with the awareness that something was there. My blood would run cold, and the only thing I could do was keep my eyes on the little girl sleeping in her bed, not even 5 feet away from the stairs. I never said anything to anybody about this and kept it to myself as I didn't want to scare my cousins any more than they were now that they didn't have the mom. One night, both the boy and myself were up watching YouTube when I felt the awareness of the thing being present. I didn't react or move since the girl was sleeping next to me on the floor, so I had no need to look at her. As I'm looking at the TV screen, I see the boy's eyes shift to the doorway. He didn't move his head, he simply moved his eyes and froze. I whispered, "What?" And he said nothing. I looked at him and saw he was terrified. I jumped up, ran to the bedroom door, shut it, and locked it. I ran back to where I originally was and curled up under the blanket with the sleeping girl and asked him, "What?" Again. This time, he was looking right at me and said, something all black was creeping up the stairs. I asked him what he meant, and he said, something as tall as the doorway leaned down and poked its upper body into his sister's room. He explained that it was very tall, lanky, and crisp, meaning he could clearly see it through the surrounding darkness. He said it looked evil and was looking right at me as I sat there ignoring it. He said there was no distinctive face, just a black shape with a weirdly shaped body that for some reason or another was focused on the only adult in the room. I scooped up the sleeping girl and climbed into the boy's bed. Neither of us slept that night, and we were startled again in the morning when my uncle arrived home and knocked on the bedroom door. He didn't believe a word we said and actually scolded me for, quote, feeding his mind with negative thoughts. Later the next morning, when I was cooking the kids' breakfast, the boy told me he didn't know why, but he was afraid for me. He said the feeling he got when witnessing the thing was that it wanted me gone. He said it was like seeing a predator hunting prey, especially with the way it leaned down and creepily perched or gripped the doorway. We spent nearly all day talking about my experiences, and this is when my cousin made me realize something. The reason my little cousin probably doesn't want me sleeping at their house at night is because the thing was waiting for me to be vulnerable. He theorized that his sister was waking up at night scared for me because when I doze or fall asleep, the thing might stalk into her room to get closer to me. With her bed being right near the door, she would be the first person to feel this entity's ill will towards me and would wake up. From that day on, I wouldn't sleep well at night. I would have nightmares that something in my periphery was getting closer and closer to me, and when it would be standing next to me in the dream, I would startle awake and be unable to fall back asleep. My health deteriorated to the point where I was in pain, chronically tired, and had constant migraines that medicine never helped, and I developed depression and anxiety. At some point in my life, I was having suicidal thoughts because I wanted everything to be done and over with. Then, 7 or so years after the incident at my uncle's house, my grandma asked me to go to a brief service at her church. I said sure because I had nothing else to do, and it was the best decision I have ever made. It was a small blessing ceremony with only 4 of us getting blessed. When the deacon marked my forehead with holy water and said a prayer, I instantly felt like I could breathe again. I honestly wanted to cry. I told my grandma on the way home that I felt 1,000 times better and that my mind was clear for the first time in years. She smiled and told me even though she doesn't believe in ghosts or the paranormal, she could tell something had a hold of me and she couldn't stand to watch anymore. The only thing she could think to do was to get me blessed. I truly believe that whatever was at my uncle's house was there to prey on the kids, but because I was there, it had no choice but to attach to me. Since I got blessed 2 years ago, the nightmares stopped, my migraines and pain improved, and the symptoms of depression and anxiety decreased to a more manageable point where I don't require medications. While I don't believe in God, my experience with being freed from this entity's attachment made me consider that maybe there is something out there looking out for us. Sincerely, Taylor.
Wow.
Beautiful
Wow.
end, but a really scary journey to get there.
At one point, I don't even remember what part of the story it was. My whole arm just went numb. I dropped
saw
my
you.
mic because it shocked me with fear. Like I could not feel my body. I almost dropped the mic.
It was the part where the boy cousin and her were theorizing that it was waiting for her to fall asleep.
Yes.
And the girl cousin was waking up knowing that she was vulnerable and didn't want her to sleep, not because the little girl was scared, but because she was scared for her.
What would it have done? What was the plan? Just
to get rid of her. Somehow.
That was a good one.
I'm so glad that you found a way. I mean, I say this all the time, but prayer is the way for me, and I turn to God because that's what I believe in. But finding something like that to help free you is just amazing.
It's paramount. It's a necessity in that.
Especially when it's affecting your mental health like that to the point where you just you can't sleep, you're in pain.
Yeah. I'd be chugging the wine and eating the crackers. What is it? The wafers?
Communion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be eating the church crackers.
Anyway, yeah, I'm glad you found something. That is terrifying. And I hope that it is not sticking around for your cousins either.
Dude, me too.
Well, I guess they're older now. This was 2012 and he was 12, so.
Still. I mean, we're close to the same age and I'd still be terrified if that happened to me.
Mm.
I would avoid the cousin. No offense. I'd be like,
it's not the cousin, it's the house.
Oh, I guess that's true.
So avoid the uncle.
How did we get there?
Anyways, thank you for saying that in. That was a long story, but it was good.
It was good. I agree.
I think that makes my list.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of those stories make my list for sure.
I love the long ones. I like when we get intense detail and multiple accounts.
We can really know your life and who you are.
Yes.
And all of your experiences. Well, our next one comes from Nicole, and the email was titled Third Bridge, which sounded mysterious.
It does. I'm intrigued already.
I have a story for the pod. Hope you ladies enjoyed as much as I enjoy hearing others. I grew up in Colorado, and we have an area now developed that was called Third Bridge. This was an area that was out really far east on a 2-lane road, at least a 20-minute drive from any residential area. In high school, people would drive out here at night to see if the stories were true. The legends were that it was an old Native American massacre ground. They said that underneath the bridge, you would hear drums, find notes, feathers, drawings, etc. Additionally, there was said to have been a car crash killing multiple teens heading to the site. It was seen as a challenge to go out at night and see what you and your friends could experience. One night in 2009, 2 carfuls of us decided to take the trek. You didn't get service there back then, so we relied on following each other. On the way to the bridge, the second car in the caravan stopped. Being that we didn't have service, we weren't sure what happened. We kept going, thinking they would catch up. We didn't know the exact spot of the bridge, so we ended up passing over it. Once we went over it, we decided we needed to turn around to go get to it. Now, mind you, our friends had stopped and weren't in sight, nor were other headlights. On top of that, we had just passed the bridge and were turning around. We made our turn and made the less than half a mile drive back to the bridge. As we approached, we saw a vehicle, but not a vehicle containing our friends. This was a sedan with 3 grown men standing outside of the doors, headlights on and the men staring at us. As we were just a car full of teens and the fact that it was the third bridge, we rightfully freaked out. We had no idea where the car had come from. It was like they appeared out of thin air. My friend started flying down the road, and to our terror, headlights were now behind us.
Oh no.
The car was following us down the 2-lane road back to where we had last seen our friends. We couldn't see any headlights coming head on as she gunned it down the road, only the ones now chasing us. This went on for what felt like forever, and then the lights behind us disappeared. Out of nowhere. It wasn't like the car stopped, but more like the lights were just gone. My friend kept on it as emotions were high, and eventually we saw our friends parked miles and miles up the road. We drove up to them freaking out as they sat calmly waiting. We weren't sure if we were still being followed or if the other car was just driving on without us. They informed us one of them got too freaked out and convinced the rest of the car to stay back. But what they told us was while they were sitting there, no other cars had come up behind us. They had seen no one. No one else had entered that road while we were on it. We never figured out how those men or that car got there or why they were chasing us, and we never went back. The bridge still does exist and is still known by many, although civilization has crept closer. Hope to hear your own theories on this. Nicole. The only thing I can think of, and I don't know how the bridge works, like what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Were they under the bridge? Like, did they drive the car down under and they drove it back
No.
up? But even that doesn't really make sense because you'd think you would see the lights down there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
But that's literally my only logical explanation. The only other thing is,
ghostly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Were they it wasn't actually a car full of teenagers. It was a car full of men.
Ugh.
Like 3 guys that got into a car accident
Oh, yeah.
going to the bridge.
Or like we talked about last episode or whatever episode it was, where you can pick the age you want to be.
They just decided they wanted to be older.
Maybe. I don't know.
Possible.
If that's a thing. Who knows?
And if it were a real car, how would it just disappear? How would it be right behind them following them and then all of a sudden nothing, nowhere?
I don't know.
One thing I do know is I love these little like hometown legends.
Oh, me too.
So if you have a little legend, even if you didn't actually experience it yourself, but if somebody like if everyone knew like, oh, the third bridge or oh, the tunnel down the road, please send it to us and like put it in the title like hometown legends or something, because I'd love to do an episode on that.
I think that would be
Just
very fun.
Y'all's little spooky hometown legends. I want to know.
Yeah.
And
Just keep your name anonymous and
Yeah.
just give us the town.
You don't have to even give us the town if you don't want to. You can just be like in this state or whatever county, whatever is equivalent
Whatever
to a
country.
state wherever you are.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
That would be fun because I love a good hometown
Oh,
legend.
me too. Me too.
Our next one comes from Penn. Gift from a ghost while listening to your podcast.
Ooh,
Intriguing.
okay.
Hi, my name is Penn and I'm from the UK. I've just had an experience for the first time in ages whilst listening to an episode of your podcast. I feel I need to immediately write it down and send it to you.
Agreed.
Thank you so much. I found your podcast recently and I've been binge listening to all the episodes whilst redecorating my bathroom. It sounds weird, so a bit of an explanation is that the style I'm going for in my bathroom is very quirky, maximalist, and gaudy. I want novelty decor. The walls are bright yellow, rubber duck shower curtain, that sort of thing.
You had a rubber duck theme
I did.
in your bathroom in like high school,
I really did.
and it was really cute, and I was jealous.
The curtain is still there, I believe. It
That's-
was iconic.
Actually insane. And then you had the soap dispenser that was a duck that
It
quacked,
was like,
and it would quack randomly.
at night. Yeah, that was spooky.
Too much.
And then it started running out of battery too, so it was like,
Yeah.
it was really scary.
Creepy.
Anyway, that's not the point. Hopefully that makes it sound less weird that I'm making a custom pond themed toilet seat. Have you ever seen one of those resin seats with shells and dolphins and stuff in? I seem to remember seeing them in loads of houses in the early 2000s, but couldn't find one now that would fit my toilet.
I love it.
I am in love with this.
I wish I was that cool. I really do.
Me
I
too.
aspire to be really cool, and then my decor is just like boring.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I can find in the moment.
Backstory over. I was working on this toilet seat. I'm glad you did give a backstory, because if you're like, I was making this toilet seat without anything else, I'd be a little confused.
I love it.
I've made koi and lily pads to put within the resin and have some miniature rubber ducks to put floating on top. There was a big gap in my toilet seat, and I thought to myself, what could I fill that gap with? A frog would be cool, but how can I make a 3D frog that small? I had to look around and couldn't find anything that would work, so decided to just put another duck in. Fast forward about half an hour, I was in the lounge chatting to my mom and I heard a rustle from my dressing gown pocket. Bathrobe in America, I think. I wear the same one every day and knew for sure it only had my usual things I carry around in it. I reach in and pull out a small plastic frog in a little bag. It's like one of those ones you get in a Christmas cracker that jumps into the air when you flick its back down.
Where did it come from?
I have no idea where this came from. It seems like the sort of thing I'd own, but I'm completely certain I did not put it in there. And yet it just appeared right after thinking that I need a frog. That's all I have to go off. But my mom and grandmother think it is a sign from my grandfather who died in 2011, since he had a good sense of humor. There's no real connection to frogs or anything with him though, so just a hunch, but I genuinely can't think of an explanation for this. I have other stories I'd love to send in to you. I'll have to do it when I get a computer though, since they'll be a bit long to type up on my phone. Just thought I need to tell you about this right now since it happened whilst your podcast was on. Could it have been some sort of invitation for a helpful spirit to bring me the frog? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts about it, and I hope I don't seem too weird customizing a toilet seat. Love the podcast. Looking forward to more. Penn. First of all, you're our kind of people.
Oh, yeah.
Making a custom toilet seat. That's yes.
1000%. It happened during our episode. What episode?
I wonder what episode.
And why?
I don't know. So my thought was the ghost heard ghostly talk and they were like, oh, this person, my grandson perhaps, is open to this idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, just show them just a little
Just
something.
hang out.
They need help. So
That's pretty cool.
I like the idea that it's your grandfather though. That's like, here's your little frog for your pond toilet seat.
It is really cute.
Our next story comes from Sydney. Hello, my name is Sydney, and I'm new to watching you guys on YouTube, but I have loved every episode so far. You guys make it feel like I'm on a FaceTime chatting about the supernatural.
Thank you.
As far as my story, I always thought it was just an odd coincidence, but my boyfriend thought maybe it was something that saved my life.
Okay, I'm locked in.
When I was around 7 or 8 years old, I was lying in bed, my head at the foot end, and I was playing with a little flower-shaped handheld mirror, kind of flicking it back and forth, just messing around with it. I stopped moving it, and it was positioned towards my open closet, and in the reflection, there was a maybe 35 to 40-year-old man lunging towards me, hands up and ready to grab, teeth bared like an animal, and eyes filled with hate.
Coming in hot. Okay.
I saw this man perfectly clear and dropped the mirror and turned my head around to see nothing in my bedroom at all. I was scared and went to my mom, but never told her what happened. Just figured my mind was playing tricks on me. I just kind of let it go, and maybe a month or two later, I received a pair of Heelys, the shoes that had wheels in the heel. We had those.
We did. And some of my greatest days were wearing Heelys.
I kind of want another pair of Heelys.
You can still get them.
I know.
I've thought about it.
So have I. Have you also seen the ones where you like click the sides and like
Yes.
full roller
and it's a
skates
full
pop
roller
out?
skate. I don't know how I feel about that.
I find that intriguing.
I get down with the Heely though, for sure.
And my mom suggested that we go to the nearby mall for her to shop and for me to practice. When we got there, we went to Macy's and she told me I could go practice, but to stay close. So I went off and was near the men's section when I looked around, and that man from my mirror was standing at one of the racks staring at me. He had the same haircut, the same shirt as I saw in the mirror. He didn't approach me, just watched as I started making my way back to my mom. I was shaken up, but again, didn't say anything to my mom. As we left the store, I turned back and he was still staring as we walked out. Never had an incident like that again, and I'm grateful for that. I always thought maybe it was an awful coincidence, but my boyfriend thought maybe that what I saw in the mirror may have happened that day at the mall had I not known to be wary of that man. Roughly 20 years later, and I'm still shaken up, but that's my story. Keep up the great work, and I can't wait to see what else you talk about.
That is insane. That is insane. I hate the boyfriend's theory because that is so scary.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I might agree with it.
That's what I would think too. To see the same exact man, same shirt, same haircut, everything, same face.
But the lunging at you.
Going to take her.
That's so scary.
He was going to take her. So is it a spirit of some kind,
Like
a guardian
premonition.
angel,
Yeah.
like showing her to be wary of a man like this? Or, like you said, a premonition of some kind?
I lean more towards premonition.
Do you?
I lean more towards it's showing you, hey, this guy is bad.
Bad news.
Even if that exact thing wouldn't have happened, it's just something.
He had bad intentions in his heart.
Yes, and it's like, stay away from that guy. And guess what? They did. They saw him and said, no, I'm going to go this way. And I love that.
I'm very, very glad that you did.
Because I don't trust that it would have been good regardless.
No, the way that he stared at her and watched her walk around even with her mom as she was leaving.
Yeah, that's too much. That's very scary.
A grown man should not be staring at a child in any way like that.
A grown man has nothing in common or anything to do with a child unless it's their own.
To even be interested in
Period.
to watch them that long.
At all. I agree.
Unless he really wanted some Heelys.
Hey,
No,
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
maybe they were watching how they work. Maybe he was afraid to ask. No.
I hope that's it, because I hate to think poorly of people.
Same, but
But we've been shown time and again, better safe than sorry.
very true. Very, very true.
Our next one comes from Emma. Hi guys, I recently found your videos on YouTube and wanted to share a story from my grandma. For context, my grandma is a Native woman who spent her life going between the reservation in Alaska and her home in Washington. This is a story she told me when I was asking her about superstition stuff from her tribe. She told me that one night when she was living on the reservation with her ex-husband, she was on the couch in the living room after putting her kids down to sleep upstairs. She said she heard loud footsteps upstairs and went to yell at the kids for being awake when they weren't supposed to, but when she went to go check on them, they were fast asleep and she could tell they weren't faking it. She said that she immediately felt a dark presence and decided to wake the kids up and leave the house for the night because her husband wasn't home. Nothing ever came of it, but she said that it was so dark and she just knew that she needed to get out of the house because something bad was there. This isn't the only story she's told me, but it's the only one I can remember clear enough to send your guys' way. She said that there were many other times in that house that she felt a dark presence, and she hasn't been back to that house in years. In her current house, she keeps many dream catchers and is a firm believer of bad energy and spirits that can interact with you. Anyways, keep up the great videos, Emma. To know that the darkness was like very present and very much there to do harm to you and your family, so much so that you trust in your instincts and trust in your gut, take your kids and leave.
You know me.
That's bravery and like I commend that.
I'm here for it.
Because I don't know that I think I'd talk myself out of it.
I would tell myself I'm being crazy.
Especially if you like have to wake up your kids to get them out the door.
100%. Even if nothing, I'd be like, nah, I'm just acting. I'm just crazy. I'm just, yeah. I do that with everything though.
Even after all these stories we've read.
It's a bad trait that I'm trying to get rid of. Even if I see
Not
something with
yourself?
even if I see something with my very own eyes and I say, oh, you threw that piece of paper. And they're like, no, I didn't. I start going, wait, did they?
You gaslight yourself?
Yes. It's very bad.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get better at that.
Trust your gut. Everyone could trust your gut. Emma's grandmother did. And it worked out for her. Our next story comes from Alyssa. I have a lot of stories. My family has always been sort of tuned into the paranormal, and experiences tend to follow us around as a result. You guys must get so many stories, but if you ever want more real experiences, I always have more. I used to work in a nursing home. So
okay.
I know I said absolutely send us more stories.
Here we go.
This isn't from the nursing home.
Oh, man. Okay. I don't know why I'm so intrigued. I guess it's because when we used to go as our little, I don't know why we would go every year to the nursing home in school.
Just to sing and visit.
Yeah, to sing Christmas songs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got freaked out.
I don't know. There's an energy in every nursing home.
As soon as you walk in, I was like, I didn't like it. And I felt bad for not liking it because we were there to volunteer, but I was always dreading that.
It's almost hard to breathe when you walk into most nursing homes. I feel that. First, here's my mom's story, which I swear is real. My mom could even send you a picture of the painting in our house if you wanted it. She did send it. She did send the picture. My mom moved to Montreal when she was just starting work, and she knew no one out there. She befriended an older lady that was like another grandmother figure to her that lived in the same building as her. She was super sweet, and her name was Linda Thompson. Linda was dying of stage 4 cancer, and they were both spiritual people. Linda and my mom would always talk about the afterlife and what they think it would be like. It comforted Linda in a way. Linda made a promise to my mom that she would send her a sign that she was okay in the afterlife, and that it was real when she passed away. Of course, eventually she passed away, R.I.P. My mom moved back to New Brunswick, and eventually my brother was born, many, many years later, when me and my brother were older. Mom was looking for a new painting for the house. Well, eventually, Mom went to a store like HomeSense and found a painting that she loved. It matched her walls, and it was just perfect for her. She brought it home and hung it up. A couple of days later, Mom really wanted to know who the artist was so she could see more of the work from that artist. And right in the bottom corner, it was signed Linda Thompson.
Oh my God.
Just wait.
Is it the same Linda?
Mom was freaked out. Mom had a dream where she saw Linda, and Linda told my mom to call up Linda's husband to tell him about the painting, so he knew she was okay. Of course, my mom didn't want to sound like a lunatic, so she didn't call him. Another couple months pass, and the phone rings. Linda Thompson's husband found my mom's number and called her up to say, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but Linda came to me in a dream and told me to ask you about a painting."
Oh my God.
I have chills. I've already read the story a couple of times and just my whole body is chills.
I'm emotional. This is so cute.
Wasn't that just a beautiful story?
It was. I love when we have stories like that. We should have ended on that one because I'm sure the next one is doom and gloom and terror.
We need to do a good, all good things story.
I think so. I think that's well deserved, I think, at this point.
Now here's one of my stories. Me and my brother were home alone when my parents were gone to some concert or out to a bar or something. I don't exactly remember, but me and my brother were alone. I was home from university and he was just finishing up high school. He was a senior. We were watching a movie downstairs and we heard footsteps come in through the front door and stomp their feet as if they were getting the snow off of their winter boots. We live in Canada, as mentioned in the story above, and so it was snowing in the middle of winter. Of course, we assumed that it was just our parents getting home. So I greeted them and went upstairs to go and talk to them about how their night went. When I went to turn the corner to where our front door was, there was nobody there. There was no snow on the ground. There were no footsteps outside. The stomps were so vivid and so real that I eventually called the police to say that we had been broken into or someone came into our house. They checked the perimeter and said that there weren't any footprints along the other side of the house either. I had them check the house on the inside just in case, and there was nobody there. I just remember being so scared once I realized that there was nobody there because the sound of those boots being stomped upstairs was so loud that we heard it over our movie.
Insane.
To be so sure that you call the police because you're like, I absolutely heard stomping in my house.
We've talked about it before. I need the dispatch. I need the cops. I need the paramedics. Send it.
What have you seen?
Send it so much, I bet. So much.
Thank you so much for sending those stories. We would love to hear more, Alyssa. Our last story comes from Valentina. Hi, Macy and Natalie. Love you guys, and I hope you enjoy this story. Last year, I was in my best friend's wedding. The day of the wedding, we got ready in a building next to the church. I was the first one scheduled to get their hair done, and since it was so early in the morning, the stylist and I were the only ones there. We were getting ready in a room that had doors leading into the hallway and another door on this other side of the room leading into a kitchen area. There was a big TV in the room, and from where I was sitting, I could see the reflection of the hallway in the TV. A good hour passed, and it was still just me and the stylist in the building. The stylist was almost finished with my hair, and because she had an appointment right after me, I expected to hear the other bridesmaids coming soon. At that time, I saw a figure in the TV reflection move back and forth, like they were checking to see if this was the correct room we were getting ready in. At least, that's what I thought at first. But then I got the chills because the figure looked like a man. We weren't expecting any men, and my first thought was, what if a man wandered in from the street? I grabbed my taser and went out of the room, and I asked if anyone was there. I checked the room across from us and the hallway, and there was no one in sight. I know what I saw, and I know there was no one else in that building at that time, so it had to be a ghost. Hope y'all enjoy.
I agree.
Definitely.
I agree. I'm with you. 100%.
Anyway, that's where we'll end today. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in their stories and are still sending in their stories. These were so good.
It's crazy.
If you like this video, please like it, share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so, and subscribe for more. We've got another deep dive episode on Monday coming.
We do.
You want to know the
Don't miss it.
The topic? You're here at the very end. This is like the last minute of the video.
Yes.
Astral projection.
That's going to be a big learny one for me.
It will be fun.
I'm ready.
I'm excited about it, but
all right. Well, see you in your dreams.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye.